Hello everybody, my name is Tava, and welcome to 5 things to spruce up your Minecraft world. Whether it's a long-term world, a forever world, or even just a world you're playing on with your friends. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video and maybe get some useful tips out of it, even if they might be pretty simple ones that are already pretty well known. Please keep in mind that I am not a professional builder. I play Minecraft for fun. If there are some things that aren't quite right, just keep that in mind. Let's get started. So the first thing you can do to spice up your Minecraft worlds is give your world a bit of a dynamic view with texturing. Now you can do texturing with just about any block really. As long as you could figure out a way to blend them together nicely, you could have something. Now this first example is just a randomized texture. This can pretty much work with anything you want to seem natural. The second example is kind of just to show you the objects laid out. So on this first example, we are missing one block. I replaced the andesite in smooth stone for pale moss because I thought it would work. In hindsight, it's not quite the right color and whatnot, but that's all right. You kind of just take these blocks and muddle them together in here. I like to use this kind of texturing for like walls, cliff sides. Of course, you could put any block into this. You could do this with wood, with wool, anything really can be randomized. Of course, using this as the example, you could also do something like this if you really wanted. If you got really detailed, like maybe replace this with something else that could be bossy, move these up here. You could do this in a million ways. This is just the way I chose to do the example for it. And last but not least, I wanted to show you kind of a gradient. I know it doesn't look perfect with the pale moss. Pale moss is a tricky one. I tried to get it to fit in because I really wanted it to, and that's the whole point of trial and error. You gotta have it to even get anywhere. I wanted to kind of show, instead of just straight lines like that, you could do attempting to make it look like a gradient. Of course, if this was on a larger scale, it would probably look a lot nicer. And as I was saying, you can go from moss all the way to normal stone. I would use this kind of texture, maybe like an old castle or an old abandoned office building or something of that kind of sort. I'm actually going to show you guys some examples I recorded from my personal Minecraft world that I play on regularly. This world is over on Bedrock Edition, but all the blocks are pretty much the same, and I'm gonna do it without vibrant visuals on so you guys can really get the full idea of what I'm going for. This first one is one of my favorite examples I've built on this world. I made these happy gas homes relatively recently, so I have a lot of the newer blocks and everything. As you can see, I wanted to go from moss to grass, but I wanted to add more to it than just moss and mossy cobble and grass and all that. So as you can see, for the texturing, I used dried grass and glow lichen, and I even used some bamboo and mud in there if you can see it, as well as firefly bushes. For anything, if you want to add a little more life to your build, add firefly bushes. You can even hide them underneath things, and they make for great little particles to go around your build. One more build I'd like to show in terms of the gradients is one that actually matches our first example here with the wall that goes along my fishing dock. As you can see, I did the whole mossy cobble and stone brick gradient thing, and I think it turned out really well for how random I wanted it. I wanted it to feel really natural, like the wall had been there for years and years. I think these walls look great. And if you're wondering how you maybe even go about this in the first place, what I like to do is I pick how wide and how tall I want my object to be, and then I just kind of take one of each block in my inventory, and then you just kind of build up in a straight line like this. And then you just do that over and over again in different patterns until you got a wall. Because when you look at it as a whole, it can get really frustrating to try to figure out what you want to do. When you look at it as just one line after another, it gets a little bit easier. I'm going to go through a few extra examples of colors and different types of blocks to use before we move on to the next section. So for this second example, I wanted to share some that might not work in every single form. We have kind of this blue to blue color scheme going on, and it doesn't work as well with the randomization. It doesn't look as nice as maybe our previous one has looked. It doesn't look as natural simply because it's just a jumble of colors. This time it's a direct recreation. I took and flattened out the colors and basically pulled them all in a straight line for you guys to see what kind of went into it. It's not really that hard to get the idea of scrumbling it up when you can see the colors flat out in a line like that. For the last part of the example, I wanted just to show another example of a gradient. It's again not the best gradient in the world. When you really look at it, I think it could work. If you're trying to do bright colors and you want to try to find, oh, what colors match best with this, take a look at the color wheel. You could do a monochromatic one, which is pink to red. You can do complementary colors, which are opposite each other on the color wheel. Split complementary, where it's two next to each other on either side of the color wheel. Triad, which is almost like a peace sign of colors. And you could use any of these to pick the color schemes that you want to use for this build that you do. For this last example of gradients and color mixing, I wanted to show that you could also use tool blocks in your gradients. Of course, if you're doing villagers nearby your build, be careful of what blocks you choose because you don't want them to assign their jobs to those blocks. If you need a slightly darker purple for a build, using a shulker box is a great way to add that into your build. If you were doing a brown to yellow gradient, you could use barrels. Of course, you couldn't use something like a chest because it doesn't connect wall to wall. It's slightly smaller than a full block. The purpose of this one was mostly just to show that you could use tool blocks, resource blocks, whatever they're called, in your builds. Oop, the shulker box is deloaded. I just wanted to basically use these to show you guys some examples of gradients and kind of give you an idea of how you could work blending in different blocks into your builds to maybe give more texture to them. While I encourage you to please try your best to be creative with your builds and try to think of them on your own the best you can, there are two really good websites if you are really struggling. One is called blockpalettes.com, and it'll give you a palette of 6 blocks. There's hundreds and hundreds of them, and it can help you pick out a block palette for what you want to do. The other website, you could just type into your browser Minecraft gradients. It's just a website that will make a gradient for you, and you can exclude blocks and add blocks and all that. I would urge you to try to be creative with it. Push your outlet a little bit, because you might come up with something fantastic. For our second segment of things you can do to spruce your world up a bit is adding pathways. Pathways are a great way to connect your world up, add some detail, and just to add a building. Now, in front of me, I have 3 basic designs for a simple pathway. Just wood, cobblestone, and path. Now, you typically see wood mixed with paths in villages already, so that makes it nice and easy to kind of get an idea of what you can already do since they have an example of pathways already in the game. All of these could be used for outdoor travel. You just make a simple line to wherever you're going and need to get to. No extra detail added, which isn't a bad thing. It's just a really simple way to do it. If you would like to add simple detail to your pathways, then I have a few examples here. For the wooden one, I decided to add some spruce logs on the side and bring it down to a half slab, and then I added in some oak slabs, some spruce trapdoors, and some campfires to make it a little more interesting to look at and run across when you're traveling on it. As you can see, for the cobblestone pathway, I decided to add a curve to it, which is another thing you can do, and I just wanted to show that as an example. Instead of just having a straight path that leads somewhere, you can make it traverse in different directions over hills, give it curves, give it edges. It doesn't need to be just a straight line with sharp turns every now and again. For this cobblestone path, all I added was mossy cobble, cobblestone stairs, plain stone, and andesite, and I think just doing that alone added quite a lot to the build. I like the idea of when you do a stone build like this, you can add mossy things to the edge to make it look like the natural area around it is starting to grow on top of the path, like the path has been there for years and years, like it would in real life naturally. As you can see for this dirt path, I kind of did the exact same thing where I made it a curve. For this one, I just added granite, packed mud bricks, and rooted dirt. Once again, that added a lot to it. You can even use this kind of stuff in this texturing idea as you did for the walls I showed you in the last segment, just making mixed patterns over and over again. If you really want to get detailed with it, you can purposely build it and put things in the middle and where you would be walking to make it look like those spots have been trampled and walked on over and over and over again. And I think just adding those extra blocks to these builds really feel a lot more ergonomic just overall, and I think it breathes a bit more life into a build than just having the flat cobblestone or dirt or whatever. Now, if those builds aren't quite enough and you're like, it needs just that little bit more, you can go the route of adding outer decorations like lighting and fences and all that. So for the wooden one, I just stripped a few of the logs, flipped some of them to face up, and added some stone brick walls and some lanterns. And I think that really just added that final touch to the build it needed, since this one's not as much of a flowy pathway like the other two. All I did for the cobblestone one this time was added moss, flowers, buttons, and lanterns. Overall, that just brings out enough as it is. Adding the moss to the edges really makes it feel like the pathway is being grown onto as well. And using stone buttons as stones, like little pebbles that are surrounding it, really helps add to it as well. I added a little more for the dirt pathway just because I felt like I could use it. I wanted to go for more of like a natural feel. It's been there for years. Hundreds of people have walked through it, almost like it's a pathway from a D&D campaign that's been played hundreds of times. So I added a bunch of fences, lanterns, dead bushes, ferns, grass, a couple flowers. I really feel like that added to it. I also added a few instances of coarse dirt, which I feel like also added a bit to it. And I added barrels. Just like we talked about in the last section about adding job blocks to your builds, they can also be added into builds like this. All of these, of course, can be edited and changed to your liking. Building fun pathways in your world can be a great way to make an internal compass of your world and make it so you can know what direction you're going. And pathways also tend to elevate the builds they lead up to. Here's a picture of my old house in my Minecraft world. Now, it looks alright, it looks okay, but here's the same house with a pathway added onto it. It just adds a little something to the build that just feels like it's missing. It just brings so much life to the build. And honestly, it kind of brings lore to the world. It shows where you walk, it shows where you visit. And you can use pathways as a way to expand your world greatly. If you decide you want to start over but you still want access to your original base, you could go 7,000 blocks away and just build a path between. Now, of course, that's a really big distance, but it's Minecraft. You can build for however long you want, really. I think adding these different levels of detail to your world really depends on you and what you want in your build. But I think you can really use these as a starting point and example for how you build yours. You could even go the route of building a pathway, and then if you realize you don't use the pathway in that section, you could take a shovel and make a plain grass pathway on your preferred path. I don't know if you see the videos online of the desired pathway videos in Minecraft villages and stuff. I know I've done it. It makes it a little more interesting overall. I really hope you can see these pathways and maybe get an inspiration for your world. And of course, you can make pathways with anything. I just decided to choose the 3 most basic items that you could possibly use in Minecraft as a pathway. You could do pathways with wool, you could do pathways with sandstone, sand, literally anything you wanted to. I think it really just comes down to how creative you're willing to be with it and the environment you live in. The spruce pathways would probably work better in like a snowy area, whereas the cobblestone would work better in a plains area. And then the dirt pathways would just work better in maybe if you were doing a village type build, or even still a plains area, or maybe like a giant spruce forest. But overall, I think you could really work any of these into your world. On to the next part of the video. For the last thing I would like to actually show you of things you can do to spruce your world up a bit is some filler decoration. Filler decoration can be great if you have a space that's maybe too small for a full build, or you need just a little thing to fill a gap, but there's not like enough space to do a full house or anything like that. The first filler build idea I want to show you is a couple different variations of just like a blob you can do, essentially. You can make these as useful as you need. You can put crafting tables in them, chests, ender chests, shulker boxes, barrels, literally anything that could be a work block could go into these for convenience of yourself. Maybe you have a little site that you're digging and you need certain tools and resources near you, but you don't want to keep carrying them back and forth. You can turn it into one of these. These little blobs are essentially just slabs, barrels, chests, lanterns, and wood logs. And of course, in some of them, you can see I've added hay, ender chests, scaffolding, etc. You can make these as pretty as you want, as decorative as you want, or you can leave them as they are. But we can take a closer look at each one. I also just realized that my inventory is completely full. Let me empty that real quick. Okay, now that my inventory is empty, the first little blob we have is just 2 barrels, a log, 2 slabs, a chest, and a lantern. Pretty simple to understand. You just kind of have to shimmy it around a bit until it looks just about right. The second one I decided to do basically the same setup, except I wanted to add some leaves in. Because you could add leaves to really any of these, you just kind of have to get creative with it. And of course this one I added an end chest to, which I find to be really helpful when I've scattered these around my world and it's like, oh, I need an end chest, let me pop over to the blob real quick, you know? This one's essentially the same, except I added one more functionality to it, adding a stone cutter, and then I also added some scaffolding. And the scaffolding you add, you could always pick up if you need scaffolding for something you're making nearby, which is also really helpful. And for this last one, I decided to make one that was just slightly bigger so you could get an idea of how they could look as you expand them, and then you kind of just keep building on and on if you want to make them huge. So the rest of these that I'm going to show you today, there's not going to be multiple examples. There's just going to be a couple things you could add to your world. You can make them any way you want to. I just thought I'll show you one example and you'll probably have an idea of how to make it. The first one is a little notice board you could make for your own world. You could put signs on each of these little pieces of stone and write down the little projects you're working on or things you need to get done or whatever you want, really. I'll do a little 360 so you can get an idea of how to build this in your own world. The next little thing you could add to your world to spruce it up is cattails and water decoration. Of course, this isn't, a giant area, so I just put 2. Adding little cattails can really help your water feel alive. I personally chose to do it with glass and candles, but there's a few other items you could do it with. You could do it with bamboo and fences. You could do it with pretty much anything green and brown, really. I like the way that the glass with the candles personally looks, so that's what I chose to use. And then you could also add lily pads around. If you didn't know, you can bone meal underwater and it creates underwater grass and coral, sea pickles, whatever the area would naturally spawn in, which is so cool. I learned that a few months ago and it was brand new knowledge to me. I'm still learning stuff about this game every single day, which is really cool. You can do so much with water decoration. I might do an entirely separate video on water decoration, but I just wanted to throw this one in here for today. Adding lampposts around your world. Now, this is one everyone probably has done at some point. I just wanted to give it as an example because it can be so crucial in world building to add lampposts around your world. Not only is it functional, but it also can look cool. These are the blocks I chose to use. You can mix and match with anything. I did have a bit of a hard time figuring out how I wanted to build it. I tried dripstone instead of hoppers originally, but it didn't work with the lanterns, unfortunately, because I thought that would have looked really cool. You could even take this one step further if you wanted another block taller by doing trapdoors in between the shelves in the barrel. This is essentially just 4 shelves, a barrel, mossy stone brick wall, pale oak, anvil, 2 hoppers topped with spruce trapdoors, and 2 lanterns. You could build this in any way. Now, one thing that is really, really cool that I see all the time, now this isn't the best example of it, but I see it all the time, is flower fields, organized flower fields at that. I absolutely love the look of these. Of course, mine doesn't look fantastic because I kind of just whipped it together for the video, but adding flower fields with a block between each color looks so unbelievably cool in my opinion. You can make gigantic fields of these to fill space of an area that you don't want to build anything in and make pathways going through it that lead to things. Adding these kinds of large intentional flower fields looks so cool, and I think it really, really helps elevate certain parts of your world that you might not have anything in. Now, these were the last things I actually wanted to show you in game. Since this is the last thing I'm actually putting into Minecraft, I just wanted to say, let me know if any of these have helped you today in any way for your world, and please, if you post it online, tag me, and I would absolutely love to see it. On with the rest of today's video. The next piece of advice I'd like to give is more about you than the game itself. If you build something and you're on the same world still playing years later and you're thinking to yourself, oh, I don't really like that build anymore, but I don't want to take it down, don't be afraid of it. It's really, really hard to move forward with stuff when you get stuck. If you're staring at like a lighthouse you built and you're like, I just don't like that, but it was so much work and I want to keep it, just tear it down and rebuild. Build something to your current standard. Build something you like now. I've recently found that rebuilding things that I built years ago has actually really helped me get back into Minecraft a lot more. In the last few weeks, I've fully rebuilt my fishing dock. I've been in the process of rebuilding my lighthouse. I've rebuilt multiple things just to make them to how me now would like them. It's really re-sparked my joy for the game. I don't feel like I'm getting stuck just running around on top of chests while chatting with friends. Allow your Minecraft world to grow with you. You don't have to let it be stuck, just like you as a person grow as you get older. I think Minecraft is really, really good with the idea that you can just start from scratch. Because a lot of people don't hold forever worlds that much. They just kind of start a new world when they log on, or they're always playing with their friends or whatever. And it never lasts probably more than a month because everyone is so obsessed with the idea of the 2-week Minecraft phase. You can play Minecraft outside of that though. I have been in my Minecraft phase for almost a year and a half now. It hasn't broken. I want to play it every single day and I am having so much fun getting to reimagine builds that I built. It also lets you play around a lot more with your imagination because you see your old skill set and you can take your new skill set and tips from this video and whatever and put it into the new thing that you want to build. Minecraft itself is a very fun game, and I think just not letting yourself get stuck behind a barrier of, well, I don't know what to do now, really, really helps achieve the idea that you can do it. You can. I promise you can. And it will be so great when you do. You'll be so happy once you can get yourself out of the 2-week loop. If you can break out of that cycle, the game will become instantly more fun to you. Find your favorite little niche that you like to do. Do you like to build? Do you like to make redstone contraptions? Do you like to adventure? Do you like to farm? Do you like to speed run? Do you like to tackle as many trial chambers as you possibly can? Do you like to fight the wither over and over? I personally like to build. I have a forever world I've been playing on. I've showed it a couple times in this video already. I didn't beat the Ender Dragon until 2 years into my Minecraft world because I was just having fun building. I think the main lesson here I just wanted to teach was just don't allow yourself to get stuck and lose your drive and motivation. Minecraft is one of the best creative outlets you could possibly use. I've honestly had a significantly more fun time playing Minecraft than I have any other game at the moment. If you don't know, I was originally a Twitch streamer. I got my start on Fall Guys and then I swapped to Overwatch. And I still play Overwatch almost every day, but it's just not as fun to me anymore as Minecraft is. There's just something so passionate about being able to play this game every single day. It makes me want to push my creativity and learn new things. I am relatively new to actually texturing and building worlds that feel so open and spacious and interactive, but I wanted to share these with you in hopes that it can help you guys prolong your 2-week Minecraft phase and get out of that little rut of not being able to get back into the game. Minecraft is your sandbox. You're supposed to go wild in it. The last tip I wanted to give you guys was notebooks. Physical copies of your work. I want you guys to start using notebooks and paper and whatever you have. I use these 2 notebooks and I use this folder every single time I play Minecraft. At least one of these comes out. We are going to start with this red folder. Now this red folder I love. I just recently made this. This is my graph paper folder. This folder I use for planning out basically everything Minecraft related, and I essentially just use it to get an idea of how many blocks, where are things going, what's all of it going to be, and I am so glad I thought of the idea to make this up. It's not an original idea by any means. I only just started using this and I'm super duper happy with how efficient it's made me recently in my Minecraft gameplay. It has helped me plan entire builds. I made a little fish using it. I just took a stack of graph paper and put it inside of one of those pronged folders, and it's really helped me tons. A little thing of graph paper with you, whether it's a notebook, a folder, whatever. I originally was doing this kind of thing just in a line notebook and trying to math out the little boxes, and it just wasn't working. So I opted to do this, and I already had the graph paper, I already had the folder, so I didn't spend any money to make this. I found my old school supply stash and made it. The next little thing I want to show, I will not actually be opening this notebook because this is my YouTube notebook. Now, I hear you asking, Tay, why do we need to see your YouTube notebook if this is about Minecraft? I still use this for Minecraft almost daily. Basically everything I need to plan for my videos, for Minecraft, for any other game I'm playing. This has lists in it, everything YouTube related. Now, I'm sure you guys probably won't need a YouTube book. To my fellow Minecraft YouTubers, this has helped me so much organize what I want to do for Minecraft, what I want to do for pacing, everything. This helps so much. And it's got a little cute sticker of Bond from Spy Family on it. We love Bond. This is the last notebook I wanted to show. Now, this is a silly notebook, the cover too hot to handle, so let's cool it. I got this at Typo in Australia, so if you want a similar notebook, that's where I got it. This is my gaming notebook, specifically gaming, but I really only use it for Minecraft at the moment. I use this for any little code, any notes, any names, anything. Planning builds, lists. This is literally everything I ever need for a video game in one book. Here's me planning out thumbnails and absolutely destroying another page. This is the official list for the hardcore garden. This is what I was using the whole time I was playing hardcore, trying to make that garden that I died making, which is very unfortunate. No. These are just lists for things I want to collect and put in a museum in my personal world. Spacing out blocks before I had my graph paper notebook. I think that keeping a little notebook like this is absolutely essential for gaming. I don't just use it for Minecraft, of course. I didn't show you every single page. I use it for codes in like Resident Evil. I also use it for Terraria, basically the exact same way, and I use it for literally everything that needs to be written down in regards to a video game. Instead of wasting a little slip of paper to write a code down or a pattern or whatever, I just pop it in here. This notebook has lasted me years. I have used it over and over and over again, and she's still going. Try planning out your builds on paper first. I find planning the builds on paper and then making an outline on the world and then actually building it is the most useful way to do it. That was the last tip of our video. I just wanted to say thank you so much for joining me for today's video. I truly hope these tips help you improve your building skills and your world management. Please let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. I'll see all of you in the next video. Bye-bye!